good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the homestead. Today we're preparing for a Arctic blast. By the time we wake up in the morning, it is supposed to be, I think, like single digits with the wind chill. So teens, I think, for low 20s teens for air temperature, but high winds, and we've not really had any cold days yet in Oklahoma, not in central Oklahoma anyway. And I think we're expecting a little ice into Monday morning. So nothing like waiting to the last minute to do a project that you've had a year since last winter to do. And that's what I'm doing today. So the wind just kind of picked up. I hope you can hear it. I'm in a loafing shed right now in one of my sorting pens for my cattle. And so I'm hoping you can hear me okay. I'm sure you can right now, but I'm about to step out in the corner here to where the stock tank is. And I'm sure it'll be a little windier out there, but I'm hoping that I can explain things while I'm, behind the cover and show you, and then I can just try to cut out all the wind noise if possible. But this is a loafing shed I built years ago. It is made out of all used material. We got all of the lumber, all of the old steel that you see here, and the posts. They're all out of a barn that was built in 1951 up in Kingfisher County, which is here in Oklahoma. It was actually an old ag barn in a small town up in Kingfisher County. And we took this barn down. It was huge. It was like 120 by 80 or something like that. It was big. It turned out to be a huge project. It took months and months and months of pretty much every weekend going up there. We recruited some friends to help, and oh man, bought a lot of cold beers for a lot of people, and but it was fun. And so anyway, that's where I'm at right now. And I'm gonna walk around the corner. I'm gonna turn you around. We're gonna walk around the corner here. I'm gonna show you my water setup. I've showed this in several other videos, excuse me, or at least one other video, maybe last winter probably. But I'm just gonna show you how it is right now, and then I'm gonna show you what little contraption I'm gonna add. I'm gonna add what it's a little contraption that's called a freeze miser, and let me try to grab it here out of the bucket of tools. Yeah, so it's called a freeze miser, and it's just a little contraption, and I'm not really sure how it works. I'll take it out of the package here in a minute, but basically where my water connection connects to my automatic float valve for my automatic stock tank filler, I'm gonna kind of cut that and then add a Y in the pipe and then add this onto one side. And this takes quite a bit for this thing to freeze up, but I've saw this advertised and people swear by it. People up in Canada and way far north, than us. And so I'm gonna give this thing a try. Basically what it does is when the temperature gets to around freezing, a little valve, and I don't know how it works, but a little valve in here opens up and it allows the water to drip. And the colder it gets, the more the valve opens, and the more to where it gets to the point where it could be, a kind of a steady stream almost. But that keeps it from pipes from freezing, and also probably helps quite a bit from your stock tank for freezing up. I do have a de-icer in the stock tank, but when it gets that cold, 20s, teens, or less, it's not staying thawed no matter what. I mean, it would take a lot to keep that thing from freezing up. So I'm going to show you here how I have it, and then we'll see how this goes. So I've got couple helpers here. There's Molly. 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 She's at the gate. She acts like she wants out. Cows are laying down, preparing. Find a warm spot. And then there's Duke. Duke. Duker, come here, boy. Duke is 10, which is really old for a Great Pyrenees or really any large breed of dog. And I've mentioned in other videos, he has been having a dominance problem with our younger male. And we've been having to keep him in a pen where we normally keep our pigs. We've been keeping him in that pen, and which is nice because it's up by our gate. And we've actually been having a problem with a gray fox trying to sneak into our property, and I'm afraid maybe trying to head here into chickens at night. But since we've moved, I see the fox on our cameras up at the gate in the middle of the night, but since we moved Duke up into the pig pen, no more fox. So I think just his presence, his smell, and you know, these dogs are famous for marking their territory. And so anyways, it's actually been nice. But anyway, he's out running around while Tank, the younger male, is penned up for a little while. And he likes getting out every now and again. If you're not familiar with these dogs, they love to paw. If you don't pet, within a few seconds, here, Molly. Ow. All right, let's get to work. All right, so this is what we got. So on the outside of this loafing shed, I've got a spigot right here, right on the wall. And I built all this out of used material, but this is just some sheet metal off of an old barn. Well, this is off of an old barn. I bent it and riveted it to make a lid, and then just put some hinges on there to connect it to the building. And then this is some barn metal, scrap barn metal, like I should say, off of our barns. And I have it connected to the wall there. So the cows are infamous at basically screwing with everything and tearing things up. So I'll show you inside there here in a second, but I've got inside this PVC pipe is a 1/4 inch, I think it's a 1/4 inch PEX line. And I put it inside this, I don't know if that's 1.5 inches, 1.25 PVC. And then I just fished it through there, and then I sprayed foam insulation in this. So the goal was to keep that from freezing up. And then this is all wrapped up. Of course, it's all coming, you know, dry rotting here, but so it's actually good to redo all this. But this is the automatic float. And if you're not familiar with this, it can be hard to show you, but underneath here, there's a, just kind of like what's in your toilet. I'm gonna be quiet here for a second and see if you can hear this. I'm gonna push this down. You should hear the water come on. And then when I let go of that float, you can hear it stopped. So just exactly like what a toilet does. And then here is some wire fed through here, and it's all wrapped up so the cows don't chew on it. And that goes to this stock tank de-icer. I kept the de-icer real close to the automatic refiller in the hopes that, you know, it can keep that thawed right in there. But again, when it gets cold enough, it just doesn't keep up with it. But those wires, they run into here, and then into here, they go out the back. And while we're at it, I might as well just show you the whole setup. They go through this wall. I had to put this up here, this scrap metal, because the cows would chew on everything. But I've got it come up to here where it plugs in. I always recommend putting your plugs real high use metal boxes, have your wire. I can't remember what that stuff's called, but it's, you know, Romex inside of there, but it's in an aluminum casing. They'd probably chew that up too if they had a chance, but they can't reach that. So that's my, you know, electric setup. In the summer times, I just unplug all this, and I'm actually going to do that right now because I don't want it all on while I'm messing with this, just in case I, who knows, accidentally cut a wire, or, you know, who knows what could happen. So let's come back around here. So inside of here, I couldn't figure out, well, it's not that I couldn't figure it out, it's just I never did figure out a better latch for this thing. All right, so inside here, of course, it's all got hay and crap, dust and everything all over, but this is my frost-free hydrant. At the bottom, there's dirt. This metal box, I guess, so to speak, has got an inch foam board lining the inside of it. At the bottom, it's got maybe a foot of dirt, and that's just to protect and insulate, you know, the pipe, the neck of this spigot. And then there's some spray foam, and I was kind of hoping I'd keep the mice and stuff out of there, which seems like it has worked. So like a foot of dirt and then maybe 6 or 7 inches of spray foam, and that's kept the mice. I'm sure they could chew through that if they wanted to, but they doesn't seem like they have yet. So, and then right here is a hole going through the wall, and that's where it goes to the plug-ins. So let's see, we're going to turn this water off. Well, this has been on probably since last year, and that was actually kind of hard to really tight to shut that thing. So you know, you're not going to be able to see in here, but basically coming out of the end of the spigot, I've got I think that's actually 1/2-inch PEX, but you can see, and it's all wrapped in I've got a heat tape wrapped around it. That's what this other plug-in was, is this heat tape. It's basically wire wrapped in kind of a rubber, and then there's a thermostat, and it kicks on around freezing, and you know, it'll keep that pipe warm, and, you know, in the hopes it won't freeze. I mean, honestly, ultimately, it gets cold enough, it's gonna freeze, but they've got fittings that are just like the hose bibs, just like what a hose would connect to the end of this spigot. So I put that on the PEX, came out, and then, like I explained a minute ago, that's what's inside here. So I'm not gonna be able to hold this and do all this on camera, so I'm gonna set you down. I'm gonna take this apart. Ultimately, what we're gonna do is take this apart, add a Y onto here where that freeze miser can connect. Hopefully, it'll go smooth. Okay, so I got that all undone. This is that heat tape stuff I'm talking about. And there's a little thermostat on the end there. So I had that right at the end. Actually, that might just be the end of the tape. The thermostat might be near the plug. But either way, the tape goes all the way down to here. This is where it connects. This is what the hose bib fitting looks like for PEX. And the way I had this is the PEX goes through this, and then to get to this piece here, I'm not good enough to make it all work out and all that, you know. So what I did is I cut a piece of that PVC in half, and once I got all that plumbed, I just took this, and you can, you know, line them up, and then I taped, as you can see, I taped around it real good, and that kind of held it all in place. So that is my setup. Now to figure out how to disconnect all that and put the freeze miser on. So stay tuned. All right, well, it's later in the day. No DIY project is complete unless you have a last minute hurried run to the hardware store. So Chief and I had to load up. I usually keep a lot of fittings and a lot of stuff on hand. Like when I do a project, if I buy a type of fitting, I might buy 2 or 3, depending on the price, you know, depending on what I'm doing. But plumbing fittings are fairly cheap. I buy 2 or 3, and I have a tub in my storage part of my shop where I'll have 1/2 inch fittings. I have a tub for 3/4 inch fittings and a tub for 1 inch fittings, and those are the 3 kind of, you know, most common sizes for a homesteader, you know, DIY or whatever. Those are kind of the 3 fittings. Well, these are kind of specific fittings because one side of the fitting needs to hook up to PEX, which is a type of pipe if you're not familiar, and the other side of the fitting needs to hook up to, it's basically what a hose end would have, so a hose bib or whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to show you what I picked up. It's still windy out. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm going to turn you around and show you the fittings and the little and the packages too. So maybe you know, if you're looking for these, I mean, most hardware stores have hundreds and hundreds of fittings, and it's kind of like, you know, going through them all trying to figure out what you need. So I'm going to show you here. Okay, so first of all, I just wanted to show you the freeze miser. This is it, freeze miser. And on this end, it's just would connect to like a spigot or a garden hose, something like that. And then it's got a little, you can see it's got a little ball valve of some type in there. And I'm not really sure how it works, but when the temperature, it says the freeze miser will start to drip when water temperature drops below 37 degrees Fahrenheit and automatically shut off when water temperature goes above 37. So I have no idea how that works, but this is the other end, and this is where the water trickles out. And like I said, I've seen reviews of these, and it looks like it kind of drips at first, and then maybe the colder it gets, it's more of a stream or whatever. I don't know. I'm going to follow up with this and see how this thing works in the next few days. Like I said, we have a Arctic blast coming in tonight, overnight. So I wanted to kind of get this installed and check it over the next few days and see if it does, you know, go from a drip to a kind of a dribble. So we'll see. But so that's the freeze miser. What I'm doing is I'm going from PEX, 1/2 inch PEX, and I bought a 1/2 inch to 1/2 inch FNPT. I don't know what the FNPT, or this is the female adapter, sorry, FNPT. I don't know what that FNPT means. It's you know, an abbreviation for something, but the bottom line is this is what it looks like, and it goes. It's called a shark bite. This is kind of a friction fit, and so the 1/2 inch PEX will go into this end, and it will lock in, and then on this end I've got female threads. And now these threads are like a pipe thread, and they will not sync up to a hose bib or a hose end fitting. So my PEX will hook into here. I actually had a PEX fitting where it was PEX on one end and a male hose bib on the other end. I don't know where I got it, but that was what was already on this thing when I disassembled it. I have no idea where I got that, but Lowe's did not have it. They had hundreds of fittings, and they didn't have that. So to make up for that, I bought this fitting, which you can see the difference in the threads. These threads are a little more fine than these.
So this side is this is the exact same thing as the end of your hose, garden hose. And this is like a pipe thread. So what this is a 3/4 inch to 1/2 inch, and it's 3/4 inch MHT to a 1/2 inch MIP, and it's a hose adapter. So I don't know what the MHT or the MIP stand for. I guess if I remember to look it up before when I edit this video, I'll throw it up on the screen. But this is going to allow me to go from the PEX, and then this male end will screw into the female end, no pun intended. Okay, and so then that brings me to 1/2 inch PEX to a hose bib on the end. Okay, now I just screwed that on there to show you, but I always use Teflon tape, which is like a thin tape that wraps around here. It kind of fills in the grooves there, the threads, and it'll prevent any leaking. So from here, the freeze miser will screw onto that. So we'll see. Let's get it done. All right, well, I got it all hooked up. It's kind of ugly looking, but no leaks that I can see. You can hear it running. I'm gonna turn you around. Okay. So you can see that thing is running. But there it is. This is that heat wire tape stuff. So what I'm gonna do, now that I know there's no leaks and it's all working right, I'm going to put the PVC back on here, and I'm going to wrap this all up best I can and make it to where the cows can't chew at it. You can see here, this is what they do. They chew all this stuff up. I don't know why, but they do. Curious animals. But anyway, looks like we got it done. Let's get it all wrapped up and try to keep it from freezing up, and we'll take a look then. All right, guys, hopefully you can still hear me in this wind. Old Choo Choo, she's beautiful, but she's pretty skittish. Young heifer there. Okay, so this ugly mess is what I ended up with. I put the PVC that was cut in half, I put those back on there, taped it all up. I used duct tape to start, just to hold it on there, and then I used Flex Seal tape. Let me try to grab the roll here. Sorry, Flex Seal tape. This stuff is super tacky and real thick. It's what I've used before, and it seemed like it worked pretty good. It does start to dry after probably a few years, but I mean, you know, whatever. So the fittings go into the automatic filler, and then this is teed off over to here, and the freeze miser is on that end. Now there's no insulation or heat pipe or anything like that inside this portion, so I don't think it'll mess with the I guess thermostat, we'll say.
that's inside the freeze miser. So like I said, no insulation, no heat tape or heat wire, anything like that. That's sticking out the end. I went ahead and wired this to this panel, because I'm telling you, as soon as I open this gate, first thing these cows are gonna do is come in here and they're gonna start chewing on this, and I don't want them to break this off. I don't want to leave the gate closed with this weather coming in, because there is the shelter here, and then also I have their salt and mineral licks in here. This is another thing that the cows get, salt and mineral. I just put it in this feed trough to keep it off the ground. Works pretty well. But like I said, there it is. Now the only thing about this freeze miser is it's going to run, and if this you know, obviously they're not going to drink it down fast enough constantly, but what's going to happen is this tank is going to overflow, and you know, it's probably going to make a wet, muddy mess right here, but there is a pond right there. What I will probably do, if I get a warm day after this cold snap, I will probably drill a hole here and run a overflow pipe out and then down, and then bury it, and then at least get it, you know, out of the pen. Call it a day here in a little bit, and then cold snap tonight. So we'll come out tomorrow sometime, maybe a couple times, just kind of give you an update as we go, and over the next few days. I'm not sure how long this is supposed to last, but for sure for a few days, and so we'll see how it goes. So stay tuned. All right, so I ended up late yesterday evening putting this it's a piece of a cattle panel, and I just put it around there, kind of connected it to the gate there, and just in the hopes that the cows wouldn't chew on it. Looks like it's worked, but you can see the freeze miser is dripping just a little bit. Now, the cold front came in last night. I don't really know what time, but it's probably 30 or more mile-an-hour winds. It's snowing completely sideways, and I don't know the temperature at the moment. I'll check and I'll put it on the screen, but you can see that freeze miser is just barely dripping. We'll see as it gets colder, and colder for a longer time. We'll keep checking back and see how that thing does. So stay tuned. Judge. Okay, so it is the next day. We've been in the 20s for over 24 hours, and I think I made an error installing this freeze miser. Basically, I had heat tape or heat wire on my pipes, and I think that was keeping the water warmer than it should be, you know. So the way that freeze miser works, from what I understand, is the little valve opens up when the water is below a certain temperature. I think it's at 37 degrees, and it was probably keeping it warmer than it really was. So I don't think the freeze miser was kicking on when it should have. So overnight, this all froze, and my de-icer here, first I thought maybe it didn't work, or it was
bad from last year or whatever. I don't know the way to test these things. I don't think there's other than touching it. But I came home from work, and when Chief came out, Chief came out this morning, first light, and it was all frozen up. The freeze miser was dripping a little bit, and right underneath the freeze miser, it was a little thawed. So that's good. The de-icer wasn't enough to keep up with keeping it thawed very much anyway. So I've been out here for maybe 5 minutes, and I thought, well, I'm gonna unplug that heat tape, the heat wire. I don't know what you call it. It's wire, but I think they call it heat tape. So I unplugged that heat tape because it's still in the 20s, high 20s, I think right now. And within 5 minutes, the freeze miser is already dripping more. It was hardly dripping at all when I got here. I've had that heat tape off for about not even 5 minutes, and this thing is dripping constant now. So I think that may help. This is all trial and error. So I'm gonna look right here, turn you around and take a look at this real quick. So you can see that thing's dripping decent. So that's good. So I think we'll go another night tonight. It's not supposed to get, I think it'll be in the teens again tonight for sure, maybe single digits. But we will check this out again tomorrow. Hopefully it does a little bit better than it did last night. Again, this is all kind of an experiment. And so I've got the heat tape turned off, and we'll see what happens. Okay, it's 6:30 a.m. I'm about to head to work. I come out. I just broke this up. The ice was maybe an inch thick, but I should have videoed this before I broke it up. But you can see the freeze miser is dripping more of a dribble than a drip. That's because obviously it's colder. So this little area right here was still thawed, so it was enough space that the cows can get in there and drink. So looking good. I'll put the temperature on the screen here so you can kind of see what's going on. So this is what it looks like. It's been below freezing all day, and that's what we're looking like. It's about, I think about 30 right now. But I'm gonna break this up. I just got home from work. I'm gonna break this up, but you can see that there's at least enough there that they have been drinking. There's a couple inches gone out of there under the ice, so you can tell they've been drinking because the ice hasn't fallen down in there yet. So anyway, that is the freeze miser. Seems to be working pretty well. We're supposed to have several more days below freezing for a high, which isn't real normal here in Oklahoma, but we do get some freezing, some cold anyway. And so anyway, this thing seems to be working out pretty well. I hope this was somewhat informative, and so far I'd recommend these freeze misers. So anyways, I appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.